Hi, Bewitches. Before Amy and I get into the episode, we want to take a moment to address the June 24th, 2022 Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. This decision stripped away the right to have a safe and legal abortion. Everyone should have the freedom to decide what's best for themselves and their families, including when it comes to ending a pregnancy. This decision has dire consequences for individual health and safety. It could even have harsh repercussions for other landmark decisions to come. Restricting access to comprehensive reproductive care, including abortion, threatens the health and independence of all Americans. If you're a fellow podcaster, please join the movement by visiting podvoices.help. If you're able to support in other ways, please consider donating to Planned Parenthood at weareplannedparenthood.org. That's weareplannedparenthood.org. Amy and I, and especially Dr. E, OBGYN, would greatly appreciate it. We encourage you to speak up, take care, and spread the word. A final thank you to Ariel Nissenblatt and her colleagues of the Earbuds Podcast Collective for starting this incredible movement. Devil got my tongue once again, but there will be some cussing in this episode of Bewitched Banter. Content is not suitable for all listeners. You have been warned.
Listening to Bewitched Banter.
I'm Krista, and I believe that people are inherently shitty.
And I'm Amy, and I tend to believe that people are naturally good.
But ironically, I'm a super believer in the supernatural and all things spiritual.
And I'm a total skeptic.
We're best friends, and in this podcast, we're seeking to explore and understand each other's perspectives with deep dives into the spooky, the spiritual, the magical, and the mystical.
And some straight up spoofs.
Today, it is Witching Hour story time.
Woohoo! And we'll be covering Satanism.
Woohoo!
If you didn't listen to our episode on Tuesday, definitely pull it up. It'll explain to you exactly what Satanism is. It's not worshiping the devil.
It is not.
Spoiler alert.
So it is not the Satan that they picture on South Park. That's like a big ass evil red horned thing with hooves.
Should we cheers though?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to Satanism.
Yeah, honestly, after Amy and I discussed it, we both may or may not be joining the Church of Satanism.
Yeah, tell us if we're drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean.
But frankly, going within and putting yourself first, there's no shame in that.
I feel like Oprah always preached that.
She did. There's your Oprah reference again.
Yes.
Gotta have one every episode for you.
Oh, that reminds me. I know you're not gonna you're not gonna know what I'm talking about, but I watched Harry Potter had a 20-year anniversary, and they all get together. Oh my god!
The actors, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not imagine that special was gonna make me cry so much.
Oh no.
and then I finally finished Schitt's Creek.
Oh my god! Wait, you didn't finish it yet?
I just finished it last night.
I thought you did.
And then
David.
And then I went to watch a documentary about them filming the last sixth season, and I was crying to that.
Okay, I cried on the part where Dan Levy, or Levy. I always screw up the pronunciation. I think it's
Levy.
Levy.
Yeah.
He did. Did you get the part where? Oh my god, I'm gonna cry thinking about it. I watched it, of course, right in the fucking crux of my divorce process last winter, and he said something to the effect of about Alexis and Ted not working out, as it was still a love story, but it was a love story of love that didn't work out because of their circumstances, and those circumstances were their own growth that stood in the way.
I thought that was beautiful, the way they put it.
I cried so hard when I heard that because it touched my heart, and frankly, that's what happened in my relationship, if anyone's ever wondering.
People probably are wondering.
That's basically what happened.
One day we'll tell you the dirty details.
Very complex, but that's on a very deep level, like, honestly what it was. If I'm being authentic, it was that. I'm growing, so is the ex, and we didn't grow together, frankly, is what happened. We grew apart, so. But for the benefit of ourselves, which is ultimately Satanism at its core, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to tell you, I watched because I know I'm a Harry Potter enthusiast. I did not think that was going to make me cry. Then the Schitt's Creek. I went to bed. I was like, damn, I cried so much tonight. But they were all like happy tears.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I don't know. It was like a nice night of just watching a lot of TV, not doing much.
I love those nights.
Yeah, because it was, I honestly, like a first week back to reality after 2 weeks off after Christmas is soul crushing. I'll put that out there.
4 months off, 3 months off in my case.
But you were dying to go to work, weren't you?
I was. I needed some intellectual adult conversations other than my parents. So
yeah, for me, it's like 2 weeks off wasn't enough. And I was like, I think I don't know if everyone else is like me, but for me, like after a really good vacation or like good break, it takes me like a week to kind of get back to reality and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always hard. That joke about like needing a vacation from a vacation is like so true just by the nature of how we live here in the States.
Well, you like mourn the fact that it's over. Because I was surrounded with family all the time, doing what the hell I wanted. And then it's like back to the grind. And I was like, damn, they need like...
Don't even, girl.
But I really feel like they should give you a day off just to mourn. You have to be back.
Day off.
Yeah. Anyway, so Satanism would tell me to put myself first. So maybe I just need to quit. No, I'm just kidding. But it was just an adjustment back. How was your first week?
It was so good. I absolutely love my team and the access that I get being part of the team I am, which is media relations. I see things from a whole nother perspective of this massive university that I had never seen before. So it's been really cool. Like I'm the first to know things, or among the first, of course.
Okay,
my team
so
too.
You gotta tell me.
I'll keep you in the loop. Don't you worry. But
if there's any good news or bad news, I want to know.
I mean, because it is our job to manage the crises, which would technically be bad news about the brand. So yeah, it's really cool. I will be doing a lot of writing. I'm back to my creative self and vibe, which is exactly where I'm meant to be, with journalists and creatives and thinkers and writers. And it's like, wow, this role is
awesome
for me.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So great week. There's two folks I work with are hilarious. I was telling you, I think yesterday, and just like old newspaper men, but they're like really funny, even though they're dad jokes. They're like just really funny and like so sweet.
I mean, nothing's wrong with the dad joke.
I mean,
I love a good dad joke.
That's why you love Corey so much.
Yeah. Or a bad joke, whichever way you want to put it, bad or dad joke.
Bad dad jokes both usually they coincide. But yeah, it was a really good week. And obviously new apartment, my couch we're sitting on. Woo!
Yeah.
That I got today. Super stoked.
Independent lady here.
Doing it, baby. It feels really good to be...
Not living with your parents?
Not living with my parents, yeah. And to be on my own, really. On my own for the first time in my adult life, which sounds pathetic. But
no, it doesn't.
But here I am, and I'm loving it. And I just, again, like I super cannot wait to keep putting myself first, as Satanism would prescribe.
They would. They'd be proud of you.
Going into Satanism, I am covering, as we mentioned on Tuesday, the daughter of the founder of Modern Satanism, who, again, for those of you who may not have listened to the history, our Anton LaVey was his name. His daughter, one of his daughters, let me say he has two, Xena, is the gal I'll be covering. She is, well, first of all, the name is awesome because it reminds me of Xena the Warrior Princess.
Yeah, that's what...
Did you ever watch that shit back in the day?
No, it made me think isn't there like some game?
Oh, that's Zelda.
Oh, Zelda. Okay.
My dad played Zelda, but no, Xena with an X. I think Xena was Xena the Warrior Princess, and I used to watch that shit all the time.
No, I was more of a gem girl.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yes.
I didn't watch it, but yeah.
I loved it as a kid.
I probably should not have been watching this shit. I watched this and Hercules with Kevin Sorbo, and
I don't know any of these things.
So hot.
I don't know anything.
He's like a typical like long-haired big hunk, and like
everything you're talking about right now is going over my head.
Again, you with the TV references, I gotta get you on board here. Like, come on, girl.
I'm not watching Xena tonight. I will not make that promise.
I couldn't make you do that if I tried, because it's probably so bad if we look back.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
But I loved it as a kid. Anywho, so Xena is one of LaVey's daughters, and today she goes by Zeena Schreck, which was her married last name. She took her ex-husband's last name. She's about 55, and at just 55, she has lived one hell of a life, and there's no pun intended there. Like, she is kind of a badass and has been through some shit, as you can imagine, with her father being...
Well, her dad seemed very different. I don't know how you could live a normal life with him as your dad.
Yeah, exactly. And something I'll get into a little later is a little trigger warning-y around potential incest.
With her dad?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Satanism's not looking as good. But they're always, to be honest, I can say that, but it's like any good group, if there's a large enough group, you're going to have some bad apples.
Of course, when like power gets to a certain point.
Well, it's not like he loved the media. He ate off the attention. So I feel like for him, he's probably like, Satanism sounds even more extreme. The more attention I'm going to get, the more outlandish things I say, the more things I'm going to say that piss off like the Christians, the majority. I don't know. It seemed like to me you just like attention whore.
A rabble rouser too. Yeah, exactly. Xena is, again, crazy, cool, but wild life at just 55. She has been listed as an artist of all sorts. Singer, songwriter, musician, composer, performance artist, photographer, visual artist, author, and religious teacher.
So she's one of those annoying people who can do it all.
Yeah, you know.
Those people are annoying.
No, they are, but after researching her a little bit more, I kind of really dig her. But a lot of her, no surprise, music influences came from mystical and magical traditions, right? Again, her dad's of modern Satanism, so...
And he did believe in ghosts and the paranormal and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think she might too. I didn't really get into that much with her, but I could see that she would. So, Xena, a person that can do it all, again, fuck you people out there.
From Bewitched Banter, with love.
Love the Bewitches. Xena was born in San Francisco to Anton LaVey, as we said, and her mother, Diane Hagerty. And they were both the co-founders of the Church of Satan.
But he wasn't with her when the church split, right? Is someone else?
I think so, yeah.
Or he was with her mom?
I think they split. To start, I'm going to share a very odd and kind of disturbing, but like funny disturbing. But it's funny in that her dad, Anton LaVey, looks like a total clown, like an asshat. And this video is of Xena's baptism into the Church of Satan. It was one of the most highly publicized and recorded videos worldwide for the consumption of this album called the Satanic Mass LP. And it was the first audio recording by any high priest of LaVey's in his home, which was again called the Church of Satan or the Black House.
Do we know what year?
1967.
Okay, so it's pretty old.
Yeah, so let me show it to you right quick. Fucking douche. And let's just set the stage. Was a naked woman on an altar / like almost like a doctor bed. He looks like a total ass clown. Like he's wearing this like cape with fake ass horns and like a wand in front of this altar with this naked ass woman.
And like a poor little 3-year-old. I don't know. I love maybe I love the philosophy, but the actual practice. Well, we did say we were going to try to do our own investigation. I wonder if they're all that weird, just LaVey.
I think LaVey was a fucking weirdo, but as you can see, like, that was really disturbing. And this poor 3-year-old sitting here, like, in this bizarre environment, and he used that video as audio again on his LP, which was released in 1968. And then it was re-released as an album in 1995.
Okay, so I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid anymore.
Yeah.
I spilled my Kool-Aid.
She dropped the cup. Sorry. So just so you guys know, that was also from the archive. I think that's important to share, from CBS 5 from 1987.
Well, can we just share it on Facebook?
Or 1967. Yes, we will absolutely share it. So you guys can take your own opinion if you want to keep joining the Satanism Kool-Aid or not. But for me, I think needless to say, at the age of 3...
But that's not modern Satanism.
Right.
Yeah, so that's because there's different branches, and that's LaVey. They call it LaVeyan Satanism.
Yes, and for that reason, I think is why Xena later in life, which I'll get into a little more basically renounced LaVeyanism as a whole and her father. Because of this, needless to say, also she was exposed to the public eye very early on, just starting at 3 years old. And frankly, to me, like that video and just being forced to be exposed like that as a child, I think that's kind of like borderline child abuse. But
I don't think it was. I think it's okay he wanted to do that, but I don't think he needed to use the visual of his daughter being in it.
Yeah, I agree. And so that was upsetting to me because she couldn't say yes or no, right? She was like forced to be in it, and she's just 3 years old and this weird shit's happening, and of course that's all she knows. Clearly raised unconventionally in her father's Church of Satan. But because of that early video, I think, and also probably because her dad's eccentricity, I think she had a natural knack for media and PR, and she rose to international fame quite early in life after her baptism. And as a teen, she became the Church of Satan's first spokeswoman young woman. She was a teen, I don't believe, in the 80s. But so from the 80s to about 1990, she was the front woman for the church.
While her father was alive or after he passed away?
While he was alive, but he did end up dying shortly before she was like, fucking deuces.
I thought she was still condoning the church at that point.
I think up until like right after his death, she was like, nah. And we're going to get into why in just a second.
Okay, I'm curious because most of my research I came across was good, but I was obviously doing a more generalization.
Yeah, and also like the other sect might be less wacky than LaVey himself, you know?
Yeah, and I think I didn't really talk about this in the history. There are, I believe, like people who actually do worship the devil, but obviously I was trying to focus more on like the religion of like the churches and temples that have been organized.
Gotcha. Okay, so she is the spokeswoman for the church, and she does this up until the 1990s, like I said, until she eventually denounces her father as a whole and the church altogether. And I'll get into why a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, why? I want to know.
But in the meantime, Xena took on and handled hundreds of media blitzes, especially in tabloid crime and men's magazines that focused around the satanic panic, as you covered. And obviously that was such a hot topic at the time. Satanism really needed a PR person to be like handling all those inquiries. And his little daughter, then a young woman, was it. So I'd have to say from like just a general human's perspective and like a PR perspective, she like handled the stress of this scrutiny quite gracefully, being so young and being thrust into that kind of role.
I mean, that'd be a hard role to have.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But on top of being forced to be the masthead for her father's church, essentially again from the age of 3, she also became a mom at just 14 years old.
Whoa, that's young.
Yeah. And this is where you're going to be like, fuck you, LaVey. And at just 2 weeks after having her son, she was forced to move out of the Black House, which again was the Black Pope's Church of Satan headquarters. In San Francisco, and it left her obviously destitute, right? Like she's a 14-year-old kid with a new baby. Neither Anton or her mother supported her financially.
That's like against everything they preach.
Yeah.
What hypocrites.
Yeah. And what grossed me out even more was this little quote from LaVey's biographer, Burton H. Wolfe. He described, quote, 13-year-old Xena in his introduction of the Satanic Bible as such. Ugh, so gross. Xena remembered by people who saw the famous photo of the Satanic Baptism as a tiny tot, but now she's a gorgeously developed teenager attracting a growing pack of wolves of the human male variety.
Ew.
Isn't that disgusting?
Yeah, that's gross. So,
like, there's these nasty ass, like, old men commenting on her, 1, and 2, like, bleh. You're forcing her into this spotlight that she never had any fucking choice in. Like, not okay with that. In fact, she told Bethany Lee of the Guardsman about a, quote, stifling and dysfunctional family life.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sorry, but if your dad's the father of Satanism, Yeah. I feel like your life's going to be pretty damn interesting.
Pretty fucking weird and interesting also at the same time. Below the article that I read in The Guardsman, there was one comment that was really disturbing to me. And again, I don't believe any of this has been necessarily proven. But if it is true, it's really some good context for why Xena would be like, fuck you, Dad, fuck your church.
I'm curious.
It's really disturbing. So this is a comment on the article in 2017 by Nora Cagle. Like Kegel muscles. Both of our minds went there. All right, quote. In the old radio interviews from the 1980s on YouTube, Xena is said she was grateful for how, unlike most single mothers, her parents supported her. So that contradicts what I had just said, but let me go on. But her parents had supported her when she got pregnant by accident. In this interview, she mentions that it wasn't so rosy, that they made her move out sooner, or soon after her son was born, more like a typical family might do, who maybe are Christian. Well, I don't know. That's an editorialism right here.
That's so opposite of what they preach. Because they're like, the whole thing was supposed to be like, don't live by society norms of what people think you should be doing in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, do as I say, not as I do.
Right. And this is, again, it's going to get a little nastier here. Even worse, this woman writes, I read the rumor that she was raped by her own father in 3 different books.
What?
From Lisa Carver, Burton Wolfe, and Marilyn Marinick.
Did she ever actually come out and straight say this, or the investigator just reading into the situation?
Yeah, those 3 authors wrote in their books that they speculated that's what happened.
Okay, speculated. Okay, so we don't know.
So we don't know for fact, no.
Okay.
In the attention, again, who knows? He and his girlfriend tried to beat up Lisa Carver, who wrote one of the books, for publishing such a rumor.
I mean, if it wasn't true, wouldn't you want to beat someone up?
Yes. But they were pissed, obviously, of his being the product of incest in the past. Some of us would like to know the truth of what took place in this family, since nobody has cared enough to ever write a biography of Anton LaVey that was actually honest so far. I hope the rape rumor is not true, but I've always wondered why Xena felt abused and why she had to get away. Something clearly was amiss, somewhere. If she truly was abused sexually or even psychologically somehow, and my heart goes out to her, I'm very glad she survived whatever her background really was, has made something of herself, and seems to want to encourage others to do the same. I wish there were still more free colleges for young women who deserve a chance. Kudos to the city college for doing that back in the day.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm going to get into that.
Okay, I was like, what?
The Guardsman article kind of centers around Xena's attendance at the city college in San Francisco.
Okay.
And then how she went on to get her arts degree. And I'll get into why that matters. But if any of that is true, it's obviously horrific, to answer your question. And if it is, what a fucking, like, inspiration for all women out there who are starving artists and just women in general. Like, you're going to survive that shit and become famous and, like, handle that shit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a hard way, like, if it's true, that's tragic. Even if it's not true, like, the fact that she had to live with like, all eyes on her.
Yeah.
And I'm sure her dad was, like, one of the most hated people by the media.
Oh, yeah.
So that would have been really hard just to live with.
Yeah.
Grow up with.
Yeah, like your dad being written and spoken about mostly probably all the time terribly.
Yeah. I mean, it's like having, not the same, but be like if your dad was the president. I mean, that's a little extreme comparison, but still, I feel like being a president's daughter would be awful too.
Oh, God, forget it. God bless Sasha and Malia. No, thank you.
I would hate that.
Hey, one goes to Michigan.
I know.
I think it's Malia, but I don't know. Could be Sasha. But anyway, again, if it's true, it's disgusting. And Xena, to me, is kind of an inspiration for rising above all this. And despite all that shit that was put on her shoulders, she continued her mission or role as the Church of Satan's PR lead. She joined and also later performed she joined and also formed a badass rock band called Radio Werewolf. I don't listen clearly because it's mostly goth/punk, but she'd go on to perform a plethora of other genres in her performing arts career.
Oh, cool.
And by the way, she lives in Berlin right now, which I believe is like super gothy musically.
I could see that.
Not sure if that's accurate, but I think it is. We can fact check with historian Corey. But anyway, so from electro, acoustic, sound art, field recording, post-industrial, ambient, neoclassic, gothic, post-punk, goes on. So obviously she's really talented in music and in performing arts. Her musical influence, again, was largely inspired by the magical and mystical world of her father, but also by her godfather and filmmaker Kenneth Anger, which is a really interesting last name. But anyway, Anger is described as a filmmaker, actor, and author and occultist. So obviously part of the church.
Yeah.
And he works exclusively in short films. Later, Xena would appear in another film, not by Anger, but by another Godfather-type friend and figure in her life, the director Curtis Harrington, where she played a Dietrich-like character. And I think that's a reference to an old, like, vampire-like movie.
Okay.
So again, on top of handling all the media blitz as a teenager and young woman, in 1985, Xena became a high priestess of the Church of Satan, and she got herself an education all on her own after being kicked out of the house with a baby at 14 years old. She passed the high school equivalency exam and left high school early just so that she could study drama at the City College of San Francisco.
So did she ever do anything with the church again?
Yes.
Are we going to talk about it?
Yeah, I will. Here, though, she learned acting, music, and performance art, as I said. And back then, California was still offering free tuition at any of its community colleges. And again, in this 2016 Guardsman piece, Xena is, like, still to this day, a proponent of free education.
Okay, that's cool.
Which I totally dug. And I think you and I both can as educators. So she said, I know that there are many young people who also experience such discouragements and hindrances. In instances where families fail young creative people and there are no state-supported educational possibilities, like the Community College of San Francisco was to me then, I fear that this is a recipe for disaster, end quote. Meaning this was when a time when California as a state was voting on to continue free education at the community college level. And she was speaking on how if they don't continue the free education.
Oh, okay. I'm following.
Which we're fucked anyway in the education system, as we know. But
yeah.
Anyway, she's badass and progressive in that fact that she's all about the free education because since she was kicked out at 14, she was afforded this awesome opportunity. And by the way, she must be really fucking smart.
Yeah, she has to be really smart.
Really smart, right? To get past this high school exam on your own and then get into college and just...
all with taking care of a baby.
Yeah. I can't imagine. So pretty damn inspiring to me, as I said. She later went on to found the band Radio Werewolf and marry her bandmate, Nicholas Schreck, in 1988. She kept his last name. And they sadly divorced in 2015. I think likely because he was a racist piece of shit. I'll get into that in a second.
Who is it?
Nicholas Schreck is his name.
I've never heard of him.
He was her bandmate in this goth band, Radio Werewolf. And again, they divorced 2015, but in 2019, they both issued a statement written jointly saying that after being separated since 2007, we've agreed to amicably divorce. Conscious uncoupling. No, I don't know, maybe.
They probably did say that.
Oh, shit. She, again, chose to retain her married surname, which was Schreck. Here's why he's a total fucking piece of shit, though.
Okay.
There was a little bit of a riot in the 80s during the Satanic Panic, and there were people kind of like protesting against it. Meanwhile...
Against the riot or against the...
Against Satanism. And Schreck, basically her ex-husband, totally just went on peddling about his hatred towards people in general and like mixed people, eugenicist ideas, like, and just eradicating entire populations of people.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So total Nazi vibes.
He needs to be canceled.
Yeah.
There is actually, now you say that, I came across my research, because I know I kind of went positive, but there's obviously branches that aren't so great. There was a Nazi, I kind of wanted you to cover it, the Order of Nine Angels or whatever.
Oh, well, okay, so that didn't come up in my research, but he very well might have been a part of it.
It's like the Order of Nine Angels, and I think they were like a Nazi group that was considered Satanists.
He very well might have joined that because, yeah, he was a total fucking piece of shit. And you know, in the meantime, to answer your question, Xena's still out there peddling her dad's views and the religion. Mm-hmm. She's helping him promote the book that her dad writes, The Complete Witch, or What to Do When Virtue Fails, was then reprinted as The Satanic Witch. And Xena even wrote the introduction in her father's book. So she's out there touring for her dad, doing all the shit for the religion, trying to keep it together. And, you know, it just, I don't know, it just bothers me so much that she was like forced into doing this. And in 1989, while promoting the book, Xena and her husband, her then husband again, Nicholas Schreck, he was not a member of the Church of Satan actually, but he was just out there for publicity basically. You know, he went on a rant about like how we need to clear a whole generation of people. And then later, Geraldo Rivera comes on the fucking scene, and we know how controversial he is. And he's interviewing them and tries to call them out on like all the press that the Satanic Panic is happening, basically. And it just like totally like went basically all just for publicity for her ex-husband to make a scene and like put on a show for the cameras about being a racist, essentially.
Okay, so they gave him a platform.
Yeah.
To spew his hate, basically.
Basically. Yep. So they interviewed with Geraldo, and, you know, again, he's very controversial, including this story on Satanism, tries to press them on, like, what the fuck are you doing? And at this time, again, Xena is a high priestess, and she remained, again, that spokesperson until 1990, forming the Temple of Set, which you covered, as the Scythian Liberation Movement. And she also, during the Satanic Panic time, had regular contact with law enforcement. This is where I like her. Okay. So she had regular contact with law enforcement agencies and personnel to dispute and dispel any messaging that people in Satanism were raping kids and like doing this sex ring. So she actually testified and gave them great evidence and dialogues and like testimonies saying, you know, this is what Satanism is, which is what you covered, and this is how people are portraying it.
Okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so she really helped the police out because they had very limited knowledge of what Satanism actually was.
I didn't have any knowledge until literally I sat down to research and learn. I don't feel like if you ask like most people, I don't think they would know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I mean, it's not mainstream enough for us to know in the first place, but yeah, I thought it was fascinating. It was not what I thought it was at all.
Yeah, so, I mean, okay, so she's thrust into the spotlight. She's got to get at fucking 14, yet she still peddles her dad's book, right? And she's fighting the good fight for her dad, despite maybe being raped by him. God damn it, Ella. Oh, no. So, Xena, as we know, 3 years old, thrust into the spotlight. Potentially may or may not have been raped by her own father. We don't know. Yet she's still going on. She has a kid at 14, kicked out the house, still goes on to help her dad with this whack-ass religion, and then even goes on to get her own education on her own, and then helps law enforcement, and still promotes like free arts and free education. So to me, kind of fucking dig it.
Awesome. No, I like it.
Again, by helping this is the most salient point to me for kind of stuff we love and cover. In 1992, because of her help, the FBI issued an official report featuring the criminal conspiracy theories of this time. So basically, she helped them set the record straight that this was all bullshit.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
So today, Xena is a Buddhist, and again has totally renounced her dad and the religion, joining the Temple of Set.
Did she ever say why?
Not publicly, except for she kind of realized the trauma, and there's a little bit of a quote from here that alludes to why.
Okay.
And she also teaches Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. On her website, it says, drawing on her own triumph over these other dysfunctional family experiences, I'll say.
Yeah.
Zeena is a professional bereavement counselor. So again, like this helping people in the community that you talked about.
Yeah, that's really cool.
She founded the Scythian Liberation Movement's public outreach program called Phoenix, ironically, all caps. And this program helps others in similar situations as hers. And in it explains that since 2004, Phoenix provides spiritual healing for victims of other exploitative pseudo-religions and organizations. Former gang members, whistleblowing ex-employees of corrupt organizations, and government agencies, relatives of the violently mentally ill, and survivors of all forms of institutional abuse, including the secretly abused children and spouses of prominent personalities. End quote. Nice. So, like, to answer your question, in a nutshell, I really think she was abused. Well, I know she was, because she was never asked to be a 3-year-old in this weird-ass satanic shit. And
if not physical, it was definitely emotionally abuse. And she was kind of probably thrown into a world of, like, never really fitting in. Because, like, most of us have parents with, quote-unquote, what you call normal jobs. And I think having someone who's called, like, the Black Pope, or Black, what is he called?
Yeah, Black Pope. Yeah, Black Pope.
The Black Pope can't probably make for a normal upbringing, because I'm sure, like, you probably didn't have people over at your sleepovers growing up. I bet she was probably isolated a lot as a kid, unless there were, like, other families in the church that she got to know, maybe.
Yeah, she had a half sister named Carla, and it looked like through my research that I wasn't obviously focused on Carla, but Carla, the half sister, and LaVey's lover were fighting over the estate at the end of the day when he died. And by the way, for a man who preached wealth and self-indulgence, he was only worth $60K at the end of the day. That's all he had. I mean, which is barely a salary, these days. So, but it didn't mention Zeena involved in any of that, because I think she, woke to, like, I gotta do my own shit, as evidenced by her being kind of a badass on her own.
Yeah, because kind of what I read was, like, she was unhappy with the way the church moved forward. That's all I knew.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the public messaging probably, but after doing this research, I really think there was some serious abuse going on.
Yeah.
But again, that's speculation.
Yeah.
I want to circle it all back around to today, and the anxieties of the satanic panic and how they were not really focused on the right thing, because what was underneath it all, bowing back to Zeena's ex-husband, was white supremacy. So instead of focusing on the fucking fascists and racists that were bubbling up underneath the guise of the satanic panic, they focused on this sex ring that was not even a thing. So the panic was all these moral, like, righteous people not even looking at these underlying people promoting racist beliefs, frankly, and it morphed into QAnon, actually.
Yeah, I know. When we do our satanic panic, that seems like such a mouthful. Or what is it? It was a satanic panic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when we do that, one of us should cover QAnon.
Yeah, I mean, that will take a couple episodes, I'll be honest, because it's wild, it's racist, it is anti-Semitic, it is everything.
But they say, like, because I was like, when I was looking into Satanism, obviously satanic panic kept coming up in my search, and it was like, satanic panic is still happening today, but it's in the form of QAnon and other groups.
Exactly right.
But I think we should definitely do, and that would be a good thing to cover.
Yeah, I'm into that. And it's insane how, like, how did that shit get overlooked? You know what I mean? Like, that disgusts me. Like, I know it's like herd mentality, but, like, how can you be so concerned with shit that's not even happening and yet turn a blind eye to this underbelly of like complete batshitness that is now QAnon, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
It really is, but it's all this conspiracy bullshit, and it's just really sad that it's still, you know, it's just coming on today. And unfortunately, like you said, there are some sects of Satanism that are still of subscribing to those beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like any big group, like the way I kind of thought about it is like Muslims. It's a very peaceful, loving religion, but then obviously there's the extremists that we all know, and those few people have to kind of ruin the reputation for a large majority of the people who practice.
Exactly.
That's kind of how I see Satanism, because I feel like there are some really bad apples, bad people, or people who call themselves Satanists, but they're not actually a member of the temple set or different branches. But again, I do feel like if you call yourself a Satanist, you're kind of asking for some scrutiny. But my story, are you finished with yours?
So I just wanted to say, like, despite that depressing ending, Xena is a real inspiration, I think, to this day.
Awesome job. But mine's going to be a turn, so it's going to be very positive.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, so we had to get low because that's what we do here at Bewitched Banter. We got to
take it down, going back up.
Yeah. Well, humanity sometimes can be a little disappointing.
Thank you to my point. Every episode, people are shitty.
So what I'm going to cover, though, it's going to be a good one. And so when I was searching what to do, I saw the following. Fortune magazine published an article saying why Satanists may be the last hope to take down the Texas abortion bill. I found another article that said how the Satanic Temple is using abortion rituals to claim religious liberty against the Texas Heart Bill.
Hell yeah.
The Guardian published an article called Devil's Advocate. Are Satanists now the good guys in the fight against evangelical rights?
Fuck yeah.
Another article is Hail Satan, the Satanists battling for religious freedom.
Holy shit.
And I was like,
sis on this.
Oh yeah, she would love this. She would probably eat this up. But first of all, I was like, damn, they know how to be dramatic with headlines, right?
Oh yeah.
But again, I was intrigued. So I was
That's the art, baby.
Even before I could even get to it, I was like, your sister being a gynecologist would totally get behind this.
Yeah, anything to save women's health and rights. Absolutely.
And I dig their sensibilities, and I kind of like how they give a big finger to the man.
Yes.
I'm all for it.
All about it. You know I am.
So they are currently filming a documentary. It's filmed by Penny Lane, which is called Hail Satan. And I need to
the Beatles, Penny Lane? Penny Lane.
I mean, he might have been named after that. I don't know who Penny Lane is, really, but I thought I would give them credit where credit is due. What'd you say?
So I'm telling Corey on you.
Oh, I know I've been to Penny Lane, actually. I got a little... I'm acting like I'm more woke in your Englishness than you. Yeah. Bitch, I'm calling you out. The documentary is called Hail Satan. Now, I need to fact check this. I need to see if it's out already, because I didn't check the year. I think the article was written last year, so maybe it's out. We will check. So it's called Hail Satan. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I will check. But the article is written around 2020. And it follows the temple where the Satanists fight back on the overtake of Christianity on U.S. life and its political influence.
Whoa.
They are fighting for humanism rights, and their mission statement is the following. Quote, to encourage benevolence and empathy among all people, reject tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense and justice, and be directed by the human conscience to undertake noble pursuits guided by the individual will.
Fuck yeah.
And one of their main missions, which I could totally get behind and I absolutely love, is to keep the United States a secular country.
Yes.
Which is I was funny saying amen.
Amen!
But still, that's what we are supposed to be. A country for all people, no matter what your faith is or background is.
Yep.
So one example, a lot of us probably know this story, is in Oklahoma state capitol. There's a monument dedicated to the 10 Commandments.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so again, that shows favoritism. That's not secularism.
Christianity, yeah.
So they have asked as like a... I love what they do because it's very outlandish, but some of the stuff they do, it's really outlandish, but it does a great job of portraying how we're not a secular country. So they
shouldn't be. Shouldn't be, but we are, unfortunately.
Yeah. And they asked the state of Oklahoma to allow them to build their own statue of a deity, Baphomet, which is a version of the devil, to restore a religious balance.
Okay. That's fair to me.
And if anyone, and we should definitely post a picture of what Baphomet actually looks like, because it's like an image of, I'm sure you guys know it, but probably have seen it, like a goat with like a devil with wings. Like, have you seen that devil?
I feel like I was reading in my research that the Sabrina Teenage Witch Netflix series used it in their set, and this church or maybe a different sect tried to sue them because they like ripped off their Baphomet.
Oh.
But maybe not.
It could be. That'd be interesting we should look into it. So this group has so it's not a small group. It's a group of 50,000 members. And I know it sounds like freaking outlandish to ask the government to allow a statue of Baphomet as a monument. But it's like they're doing it as a stunt. And like it's an extreme way to show like, because if they asked for any other normal statue, the government, it wouldn't have caused the headlines.
Oh, but they'll keep up Henry E. Lee or whatever. What is his name? The civil rights bullshit.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But like it's like a way to be, they're being extreme, and it's like kind of showing and portraying how, well, how come you favor this religion but not other religions?
Yeah, exactly. And in the court of law, technically, that shit needs to be considered.
Mm-hmm. And that definitely will happen in this story.
Yay!
So I actually love this organization. They're like amazing, and they give back to their community in such huge ways. So in the documentary, they show that they encourage their followers to donate blood. They collect clothes for the homeless. They clean up trash in public areas. And I thought this was really cute. Like, they use pitchforks, like a devil's pitchfork, to pick up the trash sometimes.
Oh, that is cute, actually.
I was like, it's gimmicky and just weird, but I can get behind it.
It makes work, though. Shit.
But one thing they do that I was kind of like, oh, that's a little weird, is they do host Black Mass, where they do call on Satan.
Okay.
But when it's explained, they explain why. It kind of makes sense to me.
Right.
Again, like I kind of covered in my like overview of Satanism, they're very on theme with a lot of other Satan branches. They don't actually believe in Satan. And they're kind of through this acknowledging that religion is something people believe in, but there's no proof. Like they're like almost their philosophy is making commentary about how other people follow religion so blindly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And we all know, I remember the day the Heart Bill was passed in September. Like my social media was flocked with images of like Handmaid's Tale. And it's kind of like, what's scary to me is like when they pass one thing, it's like, okay, this is not only a war on women in Texas, it's going to be able to be a trickle down movement where they do it everywhere, which is terrifying.
Yeah, that's exactly what my sister explained it as. And I go, well, it's just Texas, right? And she said exactly what you just said. She said, no, it impacts me legally being able to do my job or not. Thank God Illinois, I don't think would ever pass.
But you don't know. Like, you never know. And that's the scary thing.
Well, that's why she never moved here to practice. Like, because she could have went to Banner for her residency.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, there's no fucking way I'm going to a red state because at that time we weren't purple.
Yeah, I can see that. I think they're coming for, I don't know.
Here, probably, yeah.
Here next. Who knows?
They probably will.
But the bill was, the heartbeat bill was signed by Governor Kemp on May 7th, 2019, bringing into effect one of the strictest abortion laws in the country at all time. So the bill would prohibit abortions once a heartbeat could be detected. And that's usually when a woman is about 6 weeks pregnant. And this bill was created basically to be able to skip judicial review. And they estimate that over 85% of abortions happen after 6 weeks. I mean, most people don't know they're pregnant at this point. So it's a total attack on women's rights. And they're trying to keep the minorities and just people who have no money, keep them down.
Yeah, because if you can't get it in Texas and you don't have the means to travel.
Yeah, they're the ones who are going to be the ones who are struggling the most. If you're poor, you probably don't have access to go and travel to another state where you can get safe care.
Exactly. Oh my God, this is so on par with all the conversations my sister and I have. And you know, if a woman doesn't want a pregnancy, we will find a way, no matter what. And unfortunately, if these types of laws keep going, it will often end up in dangerous and unhealthy terminations of pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. And this, to me, I remember when this happened, I was like, oh God, am I living in Handmaid's Tale? But this is the part, remember when they brought that whole initiative forward that if you ratted someone out, they would give you $10,000?
Oh my God, I think I missed that part.
What? So if you knew of someone who was helping someone get an abortion, you called like the police hotline, they would give you could get a $10,000 tip.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I think I blacked that out maybe. God.
But that to me doesn't even feel like real life saying that out loud.
Why would you think? I'm so baffled. I don't have anything to say. I'm just like, no.
Then later we found out the U.S. Supreme Court declared it couldn't block the law, which was like, I just remember everyone I know more on like a lot of people who agree with our opinion on pro-choice. Like, it was a sad day. I was like, really? Like, look at what we've been handed the past few years. Like, we had Trump as our president and now this shit? Come on. Like, why do I live here?
No, honestly, I mean, I remember saying I was going to move to Toronto when he won.
Oh, you and every other American.
Well, I got friends there.
I'm moving. I'm like, oh yeah, because they're going to take you? Okay, cool.
I know. And they're actually like the strictest ones on COVID. So like, we couldn't even get there. Like, Lauren Zuck like smuggled their baby in basically this winter or this summer. Like, told on you guys.
So talking about the government. So the IRS has recognized the Satanic Temple as a religion, and therefore the group decided to fight back and say that their religious rights were being infringed upon and that this violates the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And in this argument, they say that the abortion restrictions infringe upon their rights.
Fuck yeah.
The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was enacted in 1993 and restricted the government ability to burden religious practices. And I thought this was super interesting. The actual act came from, originated in 1990. And this is because they denied a Native American church the legal right to smoke peyote as a sacred act. In response to this caused the Congress to write an act which they signed into law saying that they couldn't do that.
Good.
So I'm ashamed to admit I actually got some of my Christmas decorations from Hobby Lobby because capitalism got the best of me. It was 50% off and I saw it on Instagram and I was like, that shit's cute. So I'm not always a woke warrior and I did get some of their stuff.
Well,
I mean, they do have some cute stuff. So that's why I'm time out. I have barely shopped there, but I did want to admit my wrongdoings. I know we vote with our wallet. I don't go very much. Why am I bringing up Hobby Lobby? We probably all know. But in 2014, it was ruled that the government couldn't force upon Hobby Lobby's rights. They're infringing on their rights, right? Because they're considered a Christian company, and they didn't want to provide insurance for their employees to cover an abortion. Mm-hmm. This ruling, however, has actually inspired the Satanic Temple to think about how they could use this argument so the government can't impede on their religious rights or their belief that people should have the right to choose and be pro-choice, and that the government can't meddle in women's reproductive rights. You know what's really dorky?
Sorry, I'm just so fucking happy. I'm straight, obviously clapping, and now I'm pumping my arms.
In my notes, I wrote finger snap, finger snap, finger snap. We literally just did that. You just did that.
I did it on your own, on cue.
So one of the 7 tenets of the temple is the following. I read this last time. So one's body is inviolable subjects to one's own will alone. AKA, basically it's my body and I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Damn right. Except, okay, I know we talked about this before, but I gotta bring it up since we're talking about pro-life / pro-choice. How the fuck can it be my body, my choice when it comes to not wearing a mask, But all of a sudden a woman says my body, my choice regarding her desire and right to choose whether or not she wants to fucking be pregnant, not be okay. Fuck off, mic drop. Fuck you.
Yeah, I 100%. I feel like all their arguments are so hypocritical. They don't. And let's say I was to like them, it's a global pandemic. Their actions are impacting people globally.
Yep.
It's a community crisis. Your choice of not getting vaccinated impacts the community. Someone getting an abortion does not impact the community.
Right.
Tell me how.
The personal, very personal and familial choice.
Yeah, but like to me, the whole it's my choice, my body. I don't have to wear a mask. I'm like, no, it's you decided to live in a community. This is a global health pandemic, and your actions are impacting other people's health. Mm-hmm. That's when it's not fair.
Oh, yeah. Again, hypocrites as fuck. I can't.
Okay, back to the good stuff.
Yes, I thought we were doing positivity here.
So another example of the Satanic Church fighting for women's rights to choice happened in 2015 as well. So they filed a lawsuit against Missouri. I actually, when I see the word Missouri, I did again. I just say misery. I don't even know how to read it now, right? Sorry, guys, if you live there. Okay, so Missouri made women review a booklet, which was basically a guilt trip on women before they were about to have an abortion, right? So one passage tells them that life starts as soon as contraception happens in the booklet. It is also a requirement that they read this booklet, but then they go home for another 72 hours to consider if they want to move forward. That would not happen with any other procedure in the world. Especially, because it's a woman, she has to go home and think about it.
Right.
Okay, but
she doesn't have her own agency on her own to think with her own brain. Fuck you.
But this part is going to make us both sad because, America. Pretty much. So the Satanic Temple fought that the state was forcing its religious views on vulnerable women. Mm-hmm. They fought this argument when a woman that they did not release her name for, obviously I can understand. They called her Mary Doe, right? So the Satanic Temple fought that the state was forcing its religious views on vulnerable women, right? And just in a horrible situation, no one wants to get an abortion. It's because they had that's the best choice for them. But they fought this argument. There's a woman in Missouri. I can't even say it. Okay. Missouri. Okay. Misery got stuck in my head. So they fought this argument and they didn't want to release her name, obviously, for protect her. So they call her Mary Doe. Okay. So Mary Doe was going to get an abortion in Missouri. I said it. And they did the same practice. Got to read this booklet, go home for 72 hours, blah, blah, blah. So they sue the state for this. But because the judicial system is so slow, you know how long it takes to get to a case. By the time they actually went to address the case, Mary Doe was no longer pregnant. And then as a way not to face the lawsuit, they stated that the group had no legal standing since she was no longer pregnant and she no longer needed an abortion. So I know our blood is all boiling at this point. But let's remember, that how progressive this is, and look at the group. Even if they're not getting things passed, there's 50,000 people in this group, and it's nice to the more we keep pushing back, the more we can get progress going towards the right way it should go. Right. So it's not going to happen overnight, but by these things happening, it does put it in front of the Supreme Court, or it does put it in front of the court. It gets people talking about it. And that's really, you have to remember, these things don't happen overnight. Yeah. But now this group is smart. They decided to create an abortion ritual. And in this ritual, so the ritual literally is, a woman celebrates her autonomy. So she says, I have the freedom to choose. I am going to have an abortion. In the ritual, she obtains an abortion, and that's the end of the ritual. Because now they have created a sacred religious ritual around a woman having an abortion procedure done, the government is now interfering with communion or baptism.
Oh, that's so smart.
I know. They definitely have a lawyer.
Fuck yeah. Get it, lawyers.
They also filed another lawsuit stating that Ann Doe's religious liberty was violated by them denying her right to a fair trial. So the next part is going to sound very lawyerish, so try to follow. So the argument against the satanic group is that the abortion is a medical procedure and has nothing to do with religion. Okay, that's black and white. The Satanist argument comes from a case in 2009 that a pastor in Texas had a halfway house, and the government stated that he was violating a zoning ordinance. The Satanists argued that they violated his religious freedom to the halfway house, and the government counted his halfway house as a secular thing. So they are saying something can be secular and religious. I don't really follow it, but I feel like lawyers probably could do a much better job of...
Okay, so I guess I'm lost on how is a halfway house.
So it's a religious establishment, but the government said, nope, you're infringing upon the zoning ordinance, so you need to move your halfway house, and they considered it secular. So they're like, say the government's saying something can be secular and religious.
Okay, so the lawyers are saying
that
the government's talking out of both sides of its mouth.
Yeah. But they want something to be secular and religious because they're saying an abortion could be a religious thing and a secular thing.
Okay. So they turned it on its head against the government.
Yes.
Got it. Let me
follow that. And I know that was kind of like, what? And that's why I'm not a lawyer and for several other million reasons.
For me, it was all the goddamn memorization and reading. Like, I love media law so much, but whew.
I wouldn't want to fight that much. Hell no.
You know I do. I'll come out swinging, but
you can't be emotional. You would not be able to keep your temper.
That's why I'd be really great at being, what do you call it?
Not a lawyer.
The ones that put on a show.
I know, but I think sometimes you have to know how to keep your cool, though. And I don't know if you could do that. No. The group then proceeded to file a lawsuit against the FDA because they were restricting access to abortion pills. They stated that because a doctor has to pursue them and that a doctor has to act in adherence to the state law, that they were infringing on their religious rights and their religious rituals. They fought that a woman should be able to get access to abortion pills through the Satanic Temple after they had received a letter from a doctor stating it's safe for them to use, and they wouldn't have to adhere to the FDA regulations this way.
Well, I have a question. Sorry. Going back to them performing the abortion.
The ritual is kind of a metaphor. Like the woman says, I have freedom to choose. And then they would go safely to a doctor.
Got it. That's what I envisioned, but I just wanted to clarify. Okay.
So the lawyer of the church said this is pushing it, though, because the temple then would also be a pharmacy.
Oh, and that's pretty close to getting to the FDA's not good list.
But it would be hard to balance, but they would be handing out the pills at the church. But again, this is all about statements and pushing the boundaries, getting people to talk about it. The opposite side of this, of course, is pissed, and they believe that the Satanic Temple is finding loopholes not to have to abide to the law. But Lucien Graves, the co-founder, has a good point stating that they aren't trying to infringe on anyone's rights, and really the ones who are abusing the system is Hobby Lobby, who's infringing on their employees' right to choose.
Fuck yes.
Yes, I agree.
That's all I have to say about that.
And there are critics that move forward stating that when a law gets obliterated by so many loopholes, it starts to not stand ground anymore in court cases. And I love this next point. They point out, though, the only people who are benefiting from all these loopholes are Christians.
Yes! Fucking exactly!
Yeah, and they're like, what about the... Oh, and actually, I'll save it because there's a quote I'm going to end with that actually does such a good job explaining everything.
This is exactly what you're saying in your history of, like, how the fuck is it cool for, like, Christian beliefs to be in everything in our government and everything we do in our society, yet other religions aren't taken into consideration? That shit is not okay.
I think that's kind of one of the main trends of Satanism too. And I'm going to leave it on this quote because I thought it was great. And from the great article I found on The Conversation by Joseph Laycock, and this is a quote I found that I really liked. This is why constitutional law professor Jay Wexler has encouraged the work of groups like the Satanic Temple, stating the following: only by insisting on exercising these rights can Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, and everybody else ensure that the court's new religious jurisprudence does not result in the public space occupied exclusively by Christian messages and symbols. Yes. At stake is nothing less than our national public life. End quote.
Wow.
And that is my story of the Satanists fighting the good fight. That's what I was going to call it. Yeah. Fighting for humanism. the public, women, fighting for the public's good.
Public health. I mean, wow.
Yeah, so I told you I brought some light into...
You brought it up.
I brought some light into our episodes this week, and it's been fun. I love learning about Satanism personally. I thought, wow.
Are you still signing up?
I don't know. I honestly, you know me, I'm never going to go to church, or a temple, but I can totally get behind celebrating oneself. Like, everyone needs to work on that. We are all our worst critic. And like, anything's going to make people like take a little time to celebrate who they are, find what makes them happy in life. Like, how could I not be behind that? I think anyone would. I don't know if I'm totally against the whole like imagery of Satan. I know a lot of it has to do with like romanticism. They do a lot of like stuff with literature and art, and like a lot of it's like music, and it's like kind of like a rebellion, which I love the idea of like rebelling against the government, the big man. So there's a lot of cool components. I would never personally join, but I would definitely be open to attending. I don't know if it's something that's open to anyone going.
Yeah, we still need to research that. I'm totally down to like sit in on a black mass if allowed. I'd love that, and I just thank you for opening my eyes and listeners' ears and eyes to the light that actually is within this religion, because it's like so many things gotten a bad rap at the helm of the fucking patriarchy. So
yeah, and I definitely want to watch the documentary Hail Satan. I don't know if it's out yet, but we could definitely look into that and let you guys know. I think it'd be interesting, and I'm really about anything that builds community too. And it seems like it's building community, and they're doing good things. So how could I be against that? But I know obviously there is like in your story, there is like the theatrical, let's be dark and weird and let's have people talk about us.
But if it helps with the fucking branding, fine. As long as you're not an actual piece of shit like LaVey seemed to be potentially.
Yeah, I kind of think he was in it more for the fame.
Sure.
And I think for me, it was hard for me to actually do justice to the religion, because it was like me in 30 minutes trying to summarize a whole religion with so many branches. And I'd really like to talk about modern Satanism, because I think that's completely different. I think probably what I'm covering right now is more modern Satanism. To me, it's cool. I don't know.
So cool.
I mean, I like learning about this stuff, obviously, or I wouldn't have the podcast. But it's kind of cool to cover a religion where I'm like, oh, I could kind of get behind that. But I don't really know. I think the reason I can believe in this more is because it seems like it's more of a non-theistic religion. Yeah. So that's probably why it resonates with me more. Mm-hmm. And I'm not really a believer of like a god, or I don't know. I don't know what I really truly believe. Who knows? I think that's why it resonated with me more. And fuck yeah, if you're going to help women out and like fight all these terrible laws being passed by like the extreme right, I'm all for it.
And I'm so curious to what my sister's opinion is on all these. So you'll have to send me the sources, or well, once we post them, I'm gonna send them to her, because I really want to hear what she thinks about it. And I mean, I'm sure she's gonna be just as happy to hear that a larger group is fighting on her colleagues and women's behalf. So.
Yeah, so I think it's a cool one. And Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're off to a good start, and I hope you're not doing some extreme diet that's making you miserable. Because I know a lot of people do that. I mean, we talked at length about what we're doing, but I'm not trying to do anything extreme. I'm just trying to take care of myself, be healthy, but I still have indulgences, because I feel like you got to do that. You got to live life. If you're like on week 2 of your extreme diet, don't do it. That's my advice.
We are the devil on your shoulder saying, fuck off. No, I was the devil today again on the shoulder of us both making us get Jersey Mikes, but self-care, question mark?
I would say so. On that note, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave us a review. We appreciate it more than you know. Yep, we're out there trying to promote ourselves, which is hard to do. Don't you think so sometimes?
Yeah, it is. It's a weird thing to do. Like, obviously, I know how to promote others and brands is what I study, but oneself is tough, and I'm really proud of us still. So
yeah, we've came a long way.
Send us a note. Tell us what we got right, wrong, what you liked. Please, we want to know, because that's the only way we're gonna learn.
I know. That's why I'd like to, if we could, if they're willing. It'd be awesome to do an interview with the temple in Tempe to see what they really think. Because, like, from what I'm getting is not from a Satanist, it's from the media. So I'd like to know if they did a good job explaining what the religion's about.
Which, before we wrap, I really want to interview my friend Courtney, who we did a little mini promo with upon launch in October. And again, her store is Crimson Sage Apothecary. Oh my God, I got that word right for once. And she does amazing things, but I got it wrong. Speaking of getting shit wrong in the media, we called her a Wiccan. She's actually not a Wiccan.
What is she, a witch?
It is something Nordic witch, and I'm still screwing that up, so I apologize, Courtney. But we do want to have you on, and you come set the record straight with us. What is your practice? How you do it? And she was also featured by the Phoenix New Times in Halloween season regarding her practice, and they even got it wrong. So she's like, let me explain what it is. Not Satanism, obviously, different branch of
she's the devil worshiper.
Yeah, no, she's rad, and I want to just apologize for getting it wrong because she's not a Wiccan.
Okay, cool. I'm open to that. We're open to any new content. Really, we are learning so much on this journey, and I hope you're learning along with us, having a few laughs. I mean, this is what it's all about at the end of the day, and I'm gonna say peace, Bewitches.
Peace.